Sam, we got big news in the NFC North. I don't know nationally that people look at it this way. I certainly look at it, and I know the impact of this player to one of the favorites for the Super Bowl. I'm talking about the Detroit Lions. Frank Ragnow announces his retirement. This is a guy that's dealt with a ton of injuries. He would fight through everything. He was probably the core of that team. When you talk leadership, guys that you got to have, important position at center, Frank Ragnow was the guy, but he's been dealing with so many injuries. He decided to hang him up. And I've got a lot of questions about Detroit. I understand why they're the favorite. They should be the favorite. They should have the highest win total in the division. But I'm not sure we're going to see the same Lions team that we've seen the last few years.
There's a book written by Jory John and Avery Monson. It's a kid's book. The title of the book is All My Friends Are Dead. That's Dan Campbell. Because all of his friends are dead. They all left. Not dead. Yeah. I'm using dead as a figurative state, not literal. Think about this. They've lost 8 assistant coaches since getting embarrassed in the playoffs at home. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator, Chicago. Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator, New York Jets. D-line coach, Terrell Williams, Patriots. Wide receiver coach, Antoine Randall, who worked with all those stud receivers. He's with the Bears. JT Barrett, assistant quarterbacks coach. He's with the Bears. Tight ends coach, developed Sam Laporta. He's with the Jets. Then you lost a couple other guys who weren't as meaningful, Cam Davis and Tanner Engstrand. But that is 8 assistant coaches, Joe, that wanted the first ticket out of town. They knew. We talked about this at the time. This was a season, so many things had to go right. All the other teams had to sort of part out of the way, and the Lions had to have all the stars aligned. And even after that, they get that coveted home game in Detroit, Ford Field, place going nuts, and got their asses kicked. Mm-hmm. And then all the coaches said, we're going to go somewhere else. Now you lose the center of one of the best offensive lines in the league. And I saw Jared Goff the other day. I'm not worried about all the turnover. We're going to be fine. Okay, we'll see.
I'm picking against the Lions, man. It doesn't mean I'm necessarily going under the win total. I haven't really thought about the win total. It's 10.5, so it's shorter than we've seen the last couple of years. I'm just looking at this North, and I'm going to go elsewhere. So I do think that they're very beatable. I'm looking at this new coaching staff. I didn't realize those 8 assistants. Like, we've talked a number of times about the coordinators, and they bring back John Morton to replace Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator. He was working in Denver last year, previously in this Detroit organization as well. But the run game coordinator, offensive line coach, I don't have a problem with. Hank Fraley, I think that's a pretty good veteran hire, but not all of them are going to be as strong as what you had. Did you see their passing game coordinator?
A guy who never passed the ball in college.
Right? David Shaw.
They didn't pass.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
They didn't pass.
The CMC days. Right.
He passed, I believe he passed one time or one faction of his career.
1 year.
And that's when they had Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was the quarterback. So they passed that year. But he wasn't this offensive passing game genius. I'm telling you, I don't think the head coach is all that bright. But he didn't have to be. He didn't have to be. We literally told you this all last year and nobody listened. Nobody listened. Coach is a moron. But he loves his players. And people relate to that because he's fatherly. And he daps the players up and he cries with them when they win. Fine. Who was drawing up the offense last year? It wasn't Dan Campbell.
Nope.
Who was plotting the defense last year? Wasn't Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell is the statue for that team. He's the stoic one. He's the leader of men. He's not this X's and O's wizard. And if you think they're going to be coached as well as they were last year, I have some ocean front property in Nebraska I would love to sell you. Hit me up at SB Shoot.
Now, I think it's worth mentioning that they had a number of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, including their dude, their DPOY potential dude, Aiden Hutchinson, missing most of the year. DJ Reader was dealing with some stuff. They had a number of linebackers out as well. Those guys look to be healthy. So that will be improved if they're available. But remember, it's not like their defense was any great shakes, but they're going to replace Ben Johnson. I don't see it, man. Both coordinators, all those assistants you talk about, and Ragnow too, which many Lions fans were upset yesterday. Like, he's the heart of the team. Oh, now I get it. Now I understand why you draft Tate Rutledge, because this was always the plan. Ragnow was going. He told the team. He just waited to announce it. So now things are coming into focus a little bit. Detroit is plus 120 to win the division at BetMGM. I see it as high as plus 155. I think plus 155 is the correct price. But a lot of books realize they don't have to go there because people love betting on Detroit. So they're not going to go there, and they'll just offer plus 120. I understand it. So who's the team that's going to beat them? Is there one team that stands out to you, or are you kind of going back and forth between a few different squads?
I am morphing into a fan of the Minnesota Vikings this year.
Yeah.
And my thought process there, if it wasn't a rookie quarterback, how good would you feel about Minnesota? If there was a vet there, we'd probably give them more of a pass, or we'd build them up a little bit more. But I'll tell you what, man, I got a text yesterday. I'm in a group thread with a bunch of guys that are Vikings fans, believe it or not. I'm in a lot of group threads. Some I wish I wasn't in, but you can't really leave anymore. You used to be able to leave a group thread. Now you can't. I don't know why. There are some I've tried. You go to the info, you hit the I to go to the menu, and you used to be able to hit leave this conversation. Some of them you can't leave anymore. Yeah, it's crazy.
Really? Oh.
Different combo for a different day. I got this, though, in my group thread that I'm somehow in with Vikings fans. It's a screenshot of a tweet from Pro Football Talk. The media got their first look at Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold. He threw 2 interceptions in a 7-on-7 goal line setting. And you know what the retort is in that thread from Vikings fans? We have a better quarterback this year. They think they're going to be better with McCarthy, which probably isn't fair and probably isn't entirely accurate. But now you bring in a kid who won in high school, who won a national championship at college, and the Vikings felt good enough about that they took him at the top of the first round. So they probably can do more, and he can also run. Sam Darnold was on hole number 17. Sam Darnold was almost out of the league. If he didn't resurrect his career in Minnesota, he's probably bagging groceries right now or coming to your house to take the bird out of the filter. He's not the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks right now. There's a faction of Vikings fans, maybe they're too optimistic, but they think the offense could be better and more versatile with J.J. McCarthy at quarterback.
14-3 last year. 14-3. Maybe they do have a better quarterback. They're not going to have a better record, but that's okay. That's the regression that's built into this number. The win total, 8.5 for Minnesota, minus 150 to the over. When I look at this division, I'm not being a homer guy. I'm just looking at it and how the NFL works, and you see teams from third, fourth are going to pop up to first place. We see it just about every single year. There's too much, quote, regression built in. It's rookie quarterback. It feels like an overreaction. After 14 wins with Darnold, now you set the number back at 8.5 with J.J. McCarthy. It was 6.5 going into last year. And then they end up getting 14 wins. And now we're down to 8.5. We're not buying the Lions. The Packers are just kind of sitting there. I don't know what's really changed with Green Bay. They're not giving me a reason to buy in. I mentioned it when I was on Fox talking about the Bears prices and win total and all that. Just looking at the division as a whole, I'd look to the bottom. I'd look at Minnesota and Chicago. BetMGM has both of them at plus 450. You could find the Bears as high as plus 475 right now. But as far as upside, these are the two teams that have the upside. What could Ben Johnson turn everything around? A la, what we saw a couple years ago with Houston, or what we saw last year with the Washington Commanders. They have a rebuilt offensive line, 3 new starters, couple new starters on the D-line side, new play caller, new defensive coordinator. Dennis Allen is there. Like, could we see a flip with the Bears? Yes. And we could see close to a repeat with Minnesota. What we are not going to see is 3 teams with at least 11 wins in the division like we saw last year. It's not going to take as much as it did a season ago. Last year, it took 15 wins for Detroit to win the division. That ain't going to happen.
If MGM would put this price up or this market up, I know they're listening right now. Give us the Lions against the field, and I will lay $1.50, $1.60 for thousands. I would hammer that bet this year. Finally, we have a divisional favorite we're ready to go against. We hinted at a couple, but when we're doing AFC East, it's got to be Buffalo. When we're doing AFC North, it's got to be Baltimore, because there are track records there. There's sustainability there. This is the Detroit Lions, who cannot have nice things. Back to that Vikings team for a second. The offense is fine and loaded with talent, and it's the brainchild of Kevin O'Connell. You can plug a lot of quarterbacks in there that will have success. Let's look at the defense, which has gotten a lot better over the last 2-3 years, and they've drafted on that side of the ball a lot, including Dallas Turner in the 24 draft. Look at what they did in the offseason. They went out and got Jonathan Allen from the Commanders to play defensive end. Mm-hmm. They got Javon Hargrave from San Francisco, who's a freak, to play on the other side of the line. And then they go to Philly, the world champs, and pick off a corner, Isaiah Rodgers. They got better on defense. The only real change, Joe, that's worth noting is that you change quarterbacks. And the quarterback last year saw ghosts and turned into a puddle. Yep. This quarterback's probably better for them.
Man, that's an interesting angle that you have on the field versus the Lions. I really like that. I think that's strong.